Okay, so module 1, which is all about who, where and why, which is my attempt at being cute for saying do your research and know who your customer is or who your target audience is. Let me just take you through the way that you need to think about marketing your products or services. It's pretty simple. It's just a matter of identifying your most profitable customers and then looking for more people who look like them. So take me, for example. I'm a marketing advisor, coach, and so therefore I'm looking for business owners or for CEOs, chief executives. And the reason I'm looking for them is because, as you have, they're interested in learning more about how to attract clients and customers to their business. And so therefore I know that there's a certain amount of segments, I won't go through it now, but there's a certain business type segments which I've got a better chance of getting interested in my program than others. So therefore I'll spend a lot of my time marketing on Facebook and Instagram and other ways of targeting those particular industries. So let's just say, for argument's sake, I know that white collar industries are an easier sell for what I do. It's not that I can't help losing it in industries, I can. It's just that if I know that white collar industries, the lawyers and accountants and dentists and doctors and people of that nature might be an easier sell, then of course I will push my advertising towards them. So it's a matter of you determining who is your most profitable customer and perhaps who's the easiest to find and make contact with, and then just look for more people who look like them. Pretty straightforward, but you'd be surprised how many people just spray bullets and don't do that. For example, they'll spray bullets on putting an ad on the side of a bus, and that particular bus might go from if their audience were Mercedes or BMW drivers, that bus might go through a couple of prestigious suburbs where those particular sort of people might be living, but then it might go through some suburbs which are low socio-economic suburbs whereby they would never, ever, ever even dream about buying a Mercedes. So therefore that's not targeted marketing. In fact, I dare say that advertising on the side of buses, backs of taxis and on the billboards on the freeway, none of those are what I would call target marketing. So hint, hint, think twice before you do that sort of thing, okay? Keep in mind this direct response mantra that I live with is all about flipping that model of getting them to fall in love with your brand so they'll taste your product, flipping it on its head to getting them to taste your product to actually and then fall in love with your brand. Okay, we'll go through more of that over the 12 modules, but what I wanted to highlight to you is that number 2, in terms of the important thing you need to consider when it's who, why and where, is determining the geodemographic profile, okay, determining their sex, their age, their income, as I said before, their socio-economic situation, their location. All of the geodemographic profile details should be things that you know, so that when you are sitting down planning your communication tools to contact these people, you know exactly where to go. For example, if they happen to be females and under 25 and you're a fashion business, then I think there's a pretty good chance you're going to spend a few dollars on pay-per-click advertising with Instagram. I think there's a pretty good chance of that, and probably Facebook as well. But the fact of the matter is, if you happen to be dealing with an audience that predominantly might be seniors, although it's a growing audience online, but nonetheless, if you're dealing with seniors, you might choose a seniors magazine. It may well be that you've got a business targeting senior holidays, hosted holiday tours where seniors go on a coach tour or maybe a train tour. You may well find that despite, yes, that age group is certainly growing in terms of using the internet, but you might also think, well, there's a good reason to actually promote my seniors hosted holiday tours in a seniors magazine or seniors newspaper. It's all about message to market match. Once you've identified your most profitable audience, look for more people who look like them by choosing the media communications channels that they would more likely consume. Pretty simple. Number 3, okay, I'm looking at my laptop, that's why I'm looking down here. Research. Okay, so look, it's really, really easy now because you've got online research facilities like SurveyMonkey and SurveyShare. If you might like to just take note of that, SurveyMonkey.com, SurveyShare.com. Just go and have a look at those websites and you'll see that they can provide you with a survey template these days, which you can just basically use for very low investment. And you can send that out to a selection of your current database, asking them questions about how they feel with your product or service. And then of course that will help you determine more and more and more what they want. Now there's 2 sorts of surveys. There's one which is quantitative, which means you send out maybe 500 or 1,000 surveys, so it's quantity, that's why it's called quantitative. And then there's qualitative, which is a more touchy-feely sort of survey, whereby you find out what they feel about your product. The quantitative one might be, how do you like the design of our packaging? Yes or no? And, you know, basically send that out to 1,000 people and they go, yes, 82%, no, 18%. Whereas the other qualitative research is more about how do you feel about the ambience and the brand persona of our product? Do you think it's A, B, C? Is it warm and fuzzy? Is it come across to you as being a prestigious product? Do you think it's a working class product? So on and so forth. So they give you the touchy-feely responses of how they feel about your product or service. Anyway, I mean, you can learn more about that just by going onto surveymonkey.com and having a look at how they put together surveys for you. Collecting a database. Look, I've got to say this to you, is that hardly anyone does this in this day and age of the information age that we live in. It's nuts. It's crazy that people just aren't collecting data. You can walk into Kmart today and you can spend $1,000, $2,000, $50,000 in Kmart and they won't ask for your details. You can go to almost any offline retail business today and they won't ask you for your details. Do you know that in Australia today, you might be watching this in another country at the moment, but just in Australia today, 1.7 million people will go through a McDonald's restaurant. And guess what? McDonald's have no clue who any one of them is. That's nuts. When you've joined my program, I found out pretty much all about your business. And I've done that so that I can actually, hopefully, provide you with better service. And at some stage, I might want to upsell something else to you. I know all about you. Okay, I've got your website address, I've got your email address, I've got your phone number, all that sort of stuff. You can walk into the biggest, sort of fast food restaurant chain in the world today, anywhere in the world. I'm just giving you Australian statistics about 1.7 million visitors today. Goodness knows what that would be in America. It's probably 20 or 30 million. The fact is you can walk in there and spend whatever you like today at McDonald's and they have no clue who you are. Can you imagine how potent it would be that instead of giving you that little receipt and asking you to wait a minute whilst they pretend that they're making your hamburger fresh, can you imagine if they said, look, just fill in that form, your name and your, basically your phone number and your email, and you could win whatever it might be, a holiday or whatever. Hey, can you imagine the amount of data they would collect? Even if they only collected 30 or 40% of people waiting for their hamburgers, that would still be today in Australia, maybe 500,000 names and contact details. So you just think about, are you collecting data? And if you're not, then do it straight away. You can walk into just about any restaurant in the world today with your husband or with your wife or boyfriend, girlfriend or business colleague, and you can spend $200 on a meal, have a bottle of wine and have a lovely dessert and the whole shooting match. And guess what? They'll let you leave without collecting your contact details. Can you imagine if they did? What would happen then is that they would say, maybe in a week or 2 weeks' time, they'd be able to send you a text message, not so much an email, but text messages, because, email open rates, you're doing pretty well if you get 20% open rate. Text messages, 94% open rate within 3 minutes. Why would you send email? So let's just say you've got their cell number in a fortnight's time, when on a Tuesday night your restaurant is not all that busy, you would send a text message and you would say, hi John, hi Susie, Chef Pierre has an incredible deal for you tonight. It's a lobster tail meal for two for just X dollars. And if you'd like to book, hurry, text back to us, yes. And we have a restaurant here in Australia that does that. And of course, when people come in for the $68 meal for two deal, they leave spending $200, by the way, because of the upsell. The fact of the matter is that he does that every afternoon at about 3 o'clock. He says to his, PA, Cheryl, how many people do we have booked in our seafood restaurant tonight out of 130 seats? And she says to him, oh, and by the way, this is one of my clients and I've taught them to do this. And she says, oh, look, we've got 62 seats booked. And he says, we'll send out one of JD's email templates, which of course I've given to him. Guess what? His restaurant, once she sends out to maybe 500 of their 30,000 database, when she sends that out, their restaurant is booked, bang, within 10 minutes. Hopefully you've enjoyed module number 1, okay, which is all about research, identifying your most profitable customer. You know that we do have a written blueprint for each one of these modules. So therefore, whilst I've rabbited on for some time in this particular video module, keep in mind you have a written version that you can just refer to with a whole bunch more details in there. So make sure that you download that and print it out if you like. I know that it's always easier sometimes just print these things out so you've got them on your desk, but have a look through that written blueprint and you'll see a whole lot more about this subject of who, where and why.